He's been identified as the shooter in this event.
James is the one that took the steak and plunged it into Mario Raygoza 3 times, killing Mario Raygoza.
You don't have counsel because you've threatened to kill 2 lawyers.
I haven't threatened to kill anyone. That's what you're saying. I didn't do that.
Finding of fact.
In early September 2009, 19-year-old Mario Alberto Raygoza agreed to help 2 acquaintances move belongings from the Rosemont Apartments on San Antonio's south side. He had met Stephen Jonathan Vogt through MySpace, and investigators later said the request for help was part of a plan. According to court records, Vogt and his friend James Garza intended to take Raygoza's car and leave for Colorado to start a new life. On September 6, 2009, Raygoza met them in the apartment parking lot, where he was attacked during what prosecutors described as a robbery. He later died from his injuries. The 2 boys fled Texas in Raygoza's vehicle and were arrested weeks later in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. James Garza was tried first and, in 2012, was convicted of capital murder. Because he was a juvenile at the time of the crime, he received a life sentence without parole. Later that year, Stephen Vogt stood trial.
And James Garza together planned and executed a capital murder crime. Their purpose was to load the car with their stuff and to kill him and to take his car and begin their new life in Colorado.
Prosecutors argued he helped plan and carry out the robbery that led to Raygoza's death, while the defense claimed Vogt struggled with bipolar disorder and was heavily influenced by Garza.
James Garza, even though he was 16 at the time and Stephen was 18, the 16-year-old James Garza held a lot of sway over Stephen Vogt, who was a follower. James is the individual that killed Mario, not Stephen Vogt. That James is the one that took the steak and plunged it into Mario Raygoza 3 times, killing Mario Raygoza, especially with the blow into the shoulder.
A jury found Vogt guilty of capital murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. His conviction was later upheld on appeal. Both men remain incarcerated for the 2009 killing of Mario Raygoza. In the early morning of July 1st, 2013, 33-year-old Kelly Hunnewell was working the overnight shift at a bakery in Columbia, South Carolina, when an attempted robbery turned tragic. Surveillance video later presented in court showed 2 young men entering the business. During the incident, Hunnewell was shot and later died. In the days that followed, police arrested several suspects, including Trenton Barnes and 20-year-old Lorenzo Young. Both were charged with murder and related offenses connected to the robbery. In November 2014, after hearing the evidence, a jury found Barnes and Young guilty.
He directly attacked Miss Honeywell, and he directly shot Miss Honeywell.
Because Barnes was a juvenile at the time of the crime, his sentencing required special consideration under U.S. Supreme Court rulings that mandate judges to evaluate factors such as age, maturity, and potential for rehabilitation before imposing lengthy sentences on minors.
Immaturity and a failure to appreciate the risk and the consequences. It will be a very unique situation where a juvenile qualifies for a sentence of life without parole.
On December 12, 2014, Judge Robert Hood sentenced Barnes to 50 years in prison, with additional related sentences to run at the same time. Co-defendant Lorenzo Young received life in prison without parole. The case became one of the early examples in South Carolina of how courts apply juvenile sentencing standards in serious criminal cases. The case began in March 2009 when Troya Sheckles was killed in Louisville's Shelby Park neighborhood. Sheckles had been expected to testify in the upcoming murder trial of Lloyd Hammond, the brother of Dajuan Hammond. Investigators later alleged that her death was connected to that pending testimony. Authorities charged Dajuan Hammond with arranging the killing. A co-defendant, Stephen Petway, was convicted and sentenced in connection with the case. Over the next several years, Dajuan Hammond's case moved slowly through the court system. There were delays, legal disputes, and issues involving witness availability. In October 2013, prosecutors dismissed the murder charge against Hammond after key witnesses could not be located.
We are very disappointed that we had to dismiss. However, we did not want to put the Commonwealth in the position of going forward without crucial evidence and losing the case because of the information that we were missing. I think there was a problem with witnesses because this is a trial about a witness being killed. It is a continuous problem that we face with prosecuting criminals in this jurisdiction. If people allow intimidation to work, then the criminals will be able to get away with doing things.
The defense countered that the case against Hammond was always weak.
There's no proof of that at all. The Commonwealth's case was always extremely weak here against Mr. Hammond. I mean, this was really just a lot of street talk and innuendo. That's all this case was. DeJuan is relieved, but again, slightly disappointed because it's kind of like winning by forfeit. We were confident we were going to persuade this jury that he was innocent because he is in fact innocent.
However, the case did not end there. In December 2014, after further proceedings, a jury found Hammond guilty of murder and intimidating a witness. He received a sentence that ran up to 35 years in prison. On appeal, higher courts upheld his murder conviction while modifying part of the related charge. On August 20th, 2017, Kamryn Montera Lamia Bradley was visiting relatives at an apartment in Gaffney, South Carolina, when were outside the home. Kamryn was inside at the time and was later pronounced dead at a local hospital. Her death deeply affected her family and the community, and authorities immediately launched an investigation.
It's the hardest thing to ever go through as a family. We've endured so much. It's been 3 years now, so a long time. Every day we relive it over and over. She was the life of everything. Everybody loved her. She made an impact, definitely. She was just an overall likable, lovable child.
In the months that followed, detectives gathered evidence and identified Donald Martin as a suspect. Martin was later arrested as a juvenile. Another individual was charged with accessory after the fact in connection with the case. Nearly 3 years later, Martin appeared in court for a bond hearing after turning 18 while in custody at the Cherokee County Detention Center.
The gun that was used in this event has been used in 4 other events, Your Honor. He's been identified as the shooter in this event. Therefore, I think he's highly dangerous to this community.
It's our prayer and hope that he's not released back out into the community to do some of these same actions. I would be heartbroken, devastated. I would feel unsafe. I'm sure my family would feel unsafe as well. I just want her legacy and her life to be remembered as someone special, a special child, and that she's always remembered and loved.
Kamryn's mother, Carol Wilson, asked the court to deny bond, expressing concerns for community safety and saying she wanted her daughter's memory to be honored. The judge did not immediately rule on bond. The case continued through the legal system, and in October 2022, Martin, then 20 years old, pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. A judge sentenced him to 25 years in prison. The sentencing marked the final resolution of a case that began in 2017, bringing a measure of accountability nearly 5 years after Kamryn's death. On April 5th, 2008, a late-night dispute inside the Madison Avenue pub near San Antonio's Medical Center turned tragic. During the confrontation, 22-year-old Jose Joe Mears was critically injured and later died. In the months that followed, investigators arrested 30-year-old Jesse Gutierrez in connection with the incident and charged him with murder. Gutierrez denied wrongdoing, and the case moved forward through the Bexar County court system, where witnesses described what happened that night.
The night of April 5th, 2008, nobody had to die. He died on the floor of a bar with no family around.
Nearly 4 years later, in May 2012, the case went to trial. After reviewing the evidence, a jury found Gutierrez guilty. In court, Maris's family expressed both grief and frustration, saying no sentence could bring Joe back, but hoping the verdict would provide some sense of justice.
We can't see Joe, we can't hug him, we can't kiss him. Every single day we've watched you come in and out with your mother holding her hand, turning around mouthing that you love your family. We don't have that option with Joe anymore.
He faced a possible sentence ranging from 5 years to life in prison.
Actions have consequences, and it's time for the defendant to face his.
We assess his punishment at confinement in the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for a term of 16 years.
The judge ultimately sentenced him to 16 years behind bars, with eligibility for parole after 8 years. Gutierrez is currently serving his sentence in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. In the spring of 2024, near East 33rd Street and Flora Avenue when shots erupted outside. She was struck during the incident and later leaving her family and community devastated. Investigators gathered surveillance footage, witness statements, cell phone records, and forensic evidence, eventually identifying Rimori Roth as the suspect. He was arrested in May 2024 and charged with second-degree murder and related firearm offenses. The case moved through the court system over the next year. In November 2025, Roth pleaded guilty to second-degree murder.
She would have been everything. She wanted to be a lawyer. She wanted to be an OBGYN. If she was here now, she would be working with the kids at her school, stopping violence and stuff. That was her favorite thing to work on, stopping the violence.
Courtney's sister described her as a bright and compassionate girl who had big dreams for her future.
A 20-year sentence for somebody that was 16 years old at the time of the offense is not common. For him to be certified as an adult necessarily is not common.
On January 26, 2026, a Jackson County judge sentenced him to 20 years in prison. With credit for time already served, he is expected to be released in his mid-30s. While they acknowledged that no sentence could restore what was lost, they said the decision marked an important step toward accountability. In May 2024, Lijah Williams was spending time with friends in downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan, near Studio Park. During an incident that unfolded in the area, she was struck by a shot and later died at the hospital. Her death deeply affected her family and the community, prompting a homicide investigation. Detectives reviewed surveillance footage, gathered witness statements, and followed multiple leads before identifying 18-year-old Josiah Tyree Pittman as a suspect. In September 2024, prosecutors charged Pittman with second-degree murder and a felony firearm offense. He was denied bond as the case moved through the court system. In August 2025, Pittman pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and the firearm charge, accepting responsibility for his actions.
Court is prepared to impose sentence. The court did receive the sentencing memo from the defense. The court's reviewed that and has taken that into consideration, but also I think the statement from the victim's mother is important as well in this case. Mr. Pittman, you pled in this case. You took responsibility for this. You pled to one count of felony firearm. That's a 2-year consecutive sentence. So you have to serve that first before any other charge, and then you pled to the second-degree murder. That carries a maximum penalty of life. At age 19, you have a juvenile court record, one prior misdemeanor. Your guidelines you just heard were corrected, so the correct scoring of your guidelines is 180 months to 300 months on your minimum sentence. And the COPS evaluation in this case is sentenced within those guidelines. There's a lot I probably could say about this. I think everyone kind of understands the situation. Violence that occurs. It seems like just daily, at least in this community, it's happening so often now. The question I asked you, Ms. Bennett, I didn't expect you to have an answer because I sure don't. I wish I knew. I wish I knew what compels a young man to pick up a firearm and to carelessly shoot it toward a group of people. I wish I understood that. And now, as a result, there's a 15-year-old girl who aspired to be a basketball star. She's now, her mom already lost it before. No one should lose one child, let alone two. And it's just heart-wrenching. But the community has to understand two things, I believe, as I sit here today. They have to understand, one, that there's accountability, and I think, two, they have to understand that the courts are doing what they can to make the community as safe as possible. So accordingly, Mr. Pittman, it's going to be the sentence of this court that you should be committed to the Michigan Department of Corrections to first serve the 2 years on the felony firearm. You'll get credit for 355 days you've served so far. Consecutive to that charge, you will serve a minimum of 300 months to a maximum of 600 months in the Michigan Department of Corrections for the second-degree murder. As that is consecutive to the felony firearm, you do not get credit for that charge. There are mandatory costs that the court has to impose. There's $136 state costs, $130 for the crime victim's assessment, and $1,000 in court costs as set forth in the judgment of sentence. This is the final sentence of the court. You will receive a form that will explain your appellate rights. Mr. Lockman, is there anything further from the people?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Panignato from the defense.
Just briefly, Your Honor, there was an adjournment, and so I think there is a short amount of credit
All right.
that's attributable to that
All right,
adjournment.
well, let's make sure we get that right. All right, so the original sentence date was back in September. So from September 10th to today?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, I don't have that number offhand. I can try to calculate it now, but the judgment will reflect that credit. Okay. All right, thank you.
In October 2025, a Kent County judge sentenced him to 25 to 50 years in prison for the murder, followed by a mandatory 2-year consecutive sentence for the firearm conviction. During the hearing, the judge spoke about the impact of violence in the community and the importance of accountability. In the early morning hours of November 8th, Indianapolis police responded to reports of a in the 3800 block of North Pennsylvania Street, near 38th and Meridian. Officers found 35-year-old Stephen Jerome Coach Jr., a barber and father of 4, seriously injured. He was transported to the hospital, but later died. Detectives began canvassing the area for surveillance footage, witnesses, and other evidence. 2 individuals were initially detained and later released as the investigation continued. Over the following weeks, detectives identified Dominique Sherman Jr. as a suspect. On January 27th, officers and SWAT members located him near 42nd Street and North Mythhufer Road and arrested him without incident.
What's your date of birth, please?
7/17/09.
And how old are you, sir?
16.
All right, sir, the state has charged you with count 1, murder, a felony.
Prosecutors charged Sherman with 2 counts of murder, robbery resulting in serious bodily injury, and dangerous possession of a firearm by a child. During his January 30th court appearance, a judge ordered him held without bond.
All Stephen wanted to do is provide for his family, very giving. He would even cut hair for free just to build his clientele. He wasn't a bad person at all. You never picture burying your child. This is very devastating for our family. And to happen from a murder, I have no words.
At the hearing, Coach's family remembered him as a devoted father, and his longtime partner brought their daughter, whom he never had the chance to meet. Sherman will be tried as an adult, with a jury trial scheduled for March 23rd. In early July 2022, during 4th of July weekend in Northeast Grand Rapids, Michigan, Jaihwan JJ Webb was riding bikes with friends when a vehicle approached the group. Moments later, shots were fired and Webb was struck. He ran toward a nearby home but collapsed and later died. Police quickly ruled the case a homicide and launched an investigation into what happened. Detectives gathered witness statements and other evidence, eventually identifying Brandon Bechtold Jr. as a suspect. Prosecutors charged Bechtold as an adult with murder and related firearm offenses. During a preliminary hearing, 2 witnesses testified that they recognized Bechtold as the passenger in the vehicle and identified him as the person who fired the shots.
For the court, shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Did you see in the car who it was that shot at you guys?
Yeah.
Do you see that person in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you identify that person for the judge, please? Is he wearing a suit or jail greens?
Yeah, greens.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant, Brandon Bechtold. He gasped for air and then he fell down?
Yeah.
Did you have to bring him to the back of the house, or did he run there on his own?
He ran there on his own.
And then he collapsed back there?
They also stated that they and their friends were unarmed.
After he said what he said, it's your testimony that he began shooting.
Yes.
Where was he shooting at?
He was shooting at all.
After hearing the testimony, a judge ruled there was enough evidence to show intent and sent the case to Kent County Circuit Court for trial. Bechtold remains charged as the case moves forward through the legal system. In 2023, the case went before a jury. After hearing testimony and reviewing the evidence, jurors found Bechtold guilty of first-degree murder, along with additional charges, including assault with intent to murder and felony firearm offenses. Percy Brown was indicted in 2009 in Louisville, Kentucky, in connection with the 2004 death of 19-year-old Jennifer French, a case that had gone unsolved for several years. As the prosecution moved forward, the case was marked by repeated delays and multiple changes in defense attorneys. Brown denied the allegations and frequently challenged aspects of the legal process. In 2013, during a routine status hearing meant to move the case ahead, tensions rose after his attorney withdrew. Brown argued with Judge McKay Chauvin, accused her of bias, and asked that she be removed from the case.
As a practical matter, I can't get a lawyer to represent you. I just can't do it.
Object for the record for you being on the case. You're biased against me,
Clearly.
okay? And there's a conflict of interest. You cannot represent me on. You cannot continue to be judge on this case.
You may
when
run
you
your
represented
lawyers
me in the
off, but you're not
past.
going to run the judge off. Here's the problem. You don't have counsel because you've threatened to kill 2 lawyers.
I haven't threatened to kill anyone. That's what you're saying. I didn't do that.
Finding of fact.
The judge rejected those claims and emphasized the need to maintain order in the courtroom. The case continued to face complications, and in 2016, prosecutors dismissed all charges after key witnesses could not be secured. Brown was released from custody after spending years in jail awaiting trial. He later filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Louisville and several police officers, claiming he had been wrongfully prosecuted. In 2023, the city agreed to pay Brown $350,000 to settle part of the lawsuit related to his lengthy pre-trial detention without admitting wrongdoing. In April 2025, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit upheld the dismissal of one of his remaining claims, ruling it had been filed too late. Brown currently faces no criminal charges, and his major civil claims have either been resolved or dismissed. On the evening of June 15, 2021, a crash on South 3rd Street Road near Iroquois Park in Louisville, Kentucky, claimed the life of 52-year-old Gregory Scott Ray. Police said 63-year-old Carl Mertz was driving an SUV when it collided with Ray's motorcycle around 8:45 p.m. Officers responding to the scene reported signs of impairment. According to court records and police statements, Mertz admitted to consuming alcohol and taking medication prior to driving. He was arrested and charged with murder, driving under the influence, and reckless driving. As the case moved through Jefferson Circuit Court, prosecutors initially pursued the murder charge, arguing that driving while impaired showed extreme disregard for safety. At that initial appearance, the judge formally notified him of the charges, set his bond at $100,000, and ordered his driver's license suspended, while the case moved through the legal system. In 2022, Mertz reached a plea agreement. He pleaded guilty to an amended charge of second-degree manslaughter, along with the DUI offense. The court sentenced him to 10 years in prison, the maximum penalty for a Class C felony in Kentucky. In 2017, Latoshia Daniels, a licensed clinical social worker from Little Rock, Arkansas, was going through a difficult period in her life and sought spiritual guidance from Broads Perry, a pastor she trusted as a counselor and religious leader. What began as spiritual counseling gradually shifted into a private romantic relationship.
I did.
Is that why you reached out to him for spiritual counseling?
Yes, I trusted him.
Now I want to talk to you about that counseling, okay? When you approached Broads Perry about counseling, did you explain why you wanted counseling?
I did.
What did you tell him?
I told him my husband and I were having some marital issues and I just needed to figure out spiritually which direction I just needed some spiritual guidance on direction.
Did Pastor Perry agree to meet with you?
He did.
Where did y'all meet?
We met in my office.
Why?
I didn't feel comfortable with being in the church and I wanted to be in a safe space because this was again something that I was not fully embracing, that I had to deal with, and I wanted to be in a space where I knew that I can be able to be vulnerable.
During the first counseling session, what did you discuss?
Everything that was going on within my marriage.
How long was the first counseling session?
It was about 2 hours.
Were you emotional during that process?
Yes.
Were you open?
I was.
Did you tell him very personal, private things?
I did.
how long, well, at the end of that session, did you determine at that time that you were going to ask for a second session?
Yes.
How long until you had a second session?
It was approximately 2 to 3 weeks before the next one.
Did it feel good to get all of that off of your chest?
Yes.
Did you reach out to Brodus Perry for a second counseling session?
I did.
Did he say that he would come do a second counseling session?
He did.
When you had your second counseling session, did you ask him about any odd behavior from the first session?
I did.
What was that?
In the first session, from the moment he walked through the door, he had his hands in his coat pocket, his jacket pocket, and he sat there the entire time during the session with his hands in his pocket. So I found that to be a little strange, but I didn't say anything in the first session, so I asked him during the section session, because he came in and he didn't have his hands in his pocket, and I was like, what was that with you having your hands in your pockets? And at that time, he told me it was because he was trying to maintain his professionalism.
Was that the first time that you had any indication that he might be interested in you?
That was the first time.
Did you proceed to start with the second counseling session?
We did.
What happened after you started the counseling session?
As I was talking and sharing, Brodus reached over and grabbed, I had a 2-arm chair, and he pulled me toward him and began to passionately kiss me. And from there, in that session, we did have sex for the first time.
Were you proud of that encounter?
In hindsight, no, but at that time, he was giving me everything that I had been missing for a long time.
Did you know that he was married?
I did.
Did you know his wife?
I had, at that time, I had seen her at church, but didn't know of her.
You got to know her better later?
Yes.
How did you feel about the fact that Brodus was married?
At that time, honestly, I did not think about it. I knew that we both were married, and I was engaged in what he was giving me.
Had you had any attention like that in a long time?
No, I hadn't. In
Had you
years.
had any emotional attention?
Not in years.
Physical attention?
Not like that, no.
After your counseling sessions, did you end up getting divorced?
That was in February, and I did end up getting divorced in December of that year.
That's when it was finalized?
Yes.
And did Pastor Perry encourage you to get divorced?
We talked about it, and there were times whenever we would be on trips, he would make mention of, oh, we can't do that until you get a divorce, or we can't do this until you get a divorce.
Now, I want to talk to you about your relationship with Brodus Perry, okay?
Okay.
After y'all had, did Brodus give you any particular instructions?
Yes. He immediately told me to download a app for us to be able to communicate. That app was called Confide.
Tell the jury what the Confide app did.
The Confide app, it's whenever you would send a message, and when you read that message, it would disappear. You couldn't screenshot it or anything like that. It would immediately disappear once you took your finger off the screen.
Did Brodus teach you how to use that app?
As we continued the app, it was probably maybe a week or two later, he found out that if you had, like, other people had your phone number in your phone and they had that app, then they could see you on it. So he had me to change my name on it and also change the way that I attached it to my account. So I went from having my phone number to coming up with a email address. So I made a new email address to be able to attach it that nobody else had.
And he taught you what all you needed to do for that app to do that?
Correct.
So that it could not be traceable back to you?
Correct.
And he did that all very quickly?
Yes.
Did he have, or was it, almost a rule, was it a rule, that you had to use that app to talk to him?
Most definitely. That was our main form of communication. As the relationship went on, if he wanted to use a different form of communication, like an email or maybe even direct messaging, he would then tell me, go to this platform or go to that one. But it was not, if I was to reach out to him without him reaching out to me first, I had to use the Confide app.
Did he set any other rules for your relationship?
Yes. As far as it came to trips that he wanted me to go on with him, I was the one who had to pay my way as far as airfare or travel, and then he would, you know, his words would, he would then take care of the rest, meaning that I would have somewhere to stay. When I was in the hotel rooms, I was to stay. I couldn't have on any clothes. I had to, and the only way I would have clothes on is if, like, you know, we were getting ready to go out. But other than that, when in the hotel room, I had to be naked. I couldn't, if something was to have happened to him as far as medically, he did not want me to call 911. I would have to call, who we referenced him as the professor, but it was Pastor Pointer. I would have to call him in order to get him emergency attention. He said verbatim lots of times, do not call 911.
Did he add any rules towards the end of your relationship?
At the end of the relationship, he wanted me to say yes, sir, and no, sir to him.
Now, I want to kind of break those down individually, okay?
Okay.
You were required to use the Confide app.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about the travel, okay? What kind of trips did Brodus want you to come on?
The very first one was to Vegas. He had some convention or something that he was at, and so that was the first one. He had invited me to go to Cuba with him that year, but he ended up right at the last minute changing it, saying that Tabitha wanted to go with him, so she went with him, and he was like, well, since you're not going to Cuba, go ahead and sign up to go to Israel for the church group trip. So I signed up to go to Israel and paid my way for that. I traveled with him to Savannah whenever he would go with Pastor Pointer.
Were there some trips that were for the pastors?
Yes.
And then other trips that were for the church group members?
The only church group that trip we went on was to Israel. The rest of them would be if he was doing something on his own, I guess, speaking engagement wise, or if he was following Pastor Pointer.
And then were there also personal trips?
And then we had personal trips.
If Brodus told you that he wanted you to go on that trip, was it expected that you would be on that trip?
I was on that trip.
Now I want to talk to you about the hotel room rule, okay? What would happen when Brodus would walk in and you were wearing clothing in a hotel room?
Once I did it and just, I don't know if I was cold or what, but when he was like, why do you still have on clothes? And when that happened, he withdrew affection from me. Like he was very cold, didn't want to be intimate until after I got undressed. But even then, it was then like a punishment I had to wait for him to decide that he was going to then give affection.
Now I want to talk to you about Pastor Pointer, okay?
Okay.
You called him the professor?
Yes.
What was his position within St. Mark's?
He was the lead pastor of St. Mark.
Did he know about your relationship with Brodus?
Yes, we hung out together a lot.
Do you know, is that why Pastor Pointer was supposed to be his medical emergency contact?
Correct.
Daniels later testified that she believed Perry when he told her his marriage was complicated and that alternative arrangements like ethical monogamy were understood. The relationship continued quietly for nearly 2 years.
I want to talk to you now about ethical non-monogamy, okay?
Yes.
Did Brodus talk to you about ethical non-monogamy?
Yes.
Was this a lifestyle that he was interested in?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what Brodus told you about ethical non-monogamy? What is it?
It is where individuals are able to have multiple relationships, but everyone in the relationship must consent.
Did Brodus tell you that he had talked to Tabitha about ethical non-monogamy?
He did.
Did he tell you that Tabitha had said she was comfortable with it, but he just hadn't told her about you yet?
He said that she had given him permission to be open on his side of the marriage.
So she was not allowed to be open on her side.
Correct.
But he told you that she had given him permission to go outside.
Yes.
But he had not told her about you, to your knowledge.
No, not to my knowledge.
Did Brodus ever give you a book to read?
The Ethical is the book that he wanted me to read so that I could have a more foundation and knowledge of this lifestyle that he was wanting to be in.
Did you read that book?
I did.
Were you interested in the lifestyle espoused by that book?
No, I was not.
How soon into the relationship did Brodus Perry start discussing this concept of ethical non-monogamy?
Actually, it started, so we were just having conversations about things in life that we wanted to do, bucket list type of things that we were curious in. And at that time, he was like, one of the things I want to do is have a threesome. And I was like, yeah, no, that's nothing I've ever thought about. But he was like, well, I've had one before, but I paid for it. And this time I want to have one where I don't have to pay for it. And so he began to speak about, the term he would use is Tabitha and I being sister wives. Didn't quite know what that meant, but as things went on, he would start to talk about me watching them have sex.
So now I want to talk to you about Brodus wanting to expand the ethical non-monogamy. Well, I guess first, was he actually engaging in ethical non-monogamy?
No.
Tabitha had no idea any of this was going on, right?
No.
As far as you knew, she knew that that's what he wanted, but he hadn't told her.
As far as I knew, correct.
And you've heard differently from even that here.
Yes.
Did Brodus ask you about expanding the relationship beyond you?
He did.
When he asked you about that, how did you respond?
I told him I didn't want to.
Did he tell you, well, my wife's on board with it, so why isn't my girlfriend?
That's exactly what he said.
Did that cause problems between you and Brodus?
At first, no, but as it continued to go on, it did. Especially after he joined like this, he called it a book club, but they met on Marco Polo talking about the book, The Ethical Slut, and so the more that he engaged in that, it became to where it was, because he was more like, why are you not on board with this? And I'm like, why would I be? Like, it doesn't make sense, because we already have limited time together, so why would I say, yes, you can be able to be with multiple women? And so it was that part, it was hard.
Did you love Brodus Perry?
I shouldn't have, but I did.
Were you in love with Brodus Perry?
I was.
Were you wanting to build a life with Brodus Perry?
I wanted what we had at that time, yes.
And y'all saw each other frequently, right?
We saw each other just about every day. I would cook for him, and so he would come to my office to eat lunch. If he didn't come to the office, I would drop it off for him. But it got to the point to where he knew my code to my office, so he would just come in. He knew where to get his lunch, warm it up, and if I had a session, of course, he would wait out in his vehicle, but other than that, he would come in and we would sit there and have lunch every day.
How did Brodus react when you told him that you were not open to expanding to allow him to have more girlfriends?
he was emotionally distant. Like, well, he would just use, he would tell me, well, you need to go and find someone. And I'd be like, I don't want anyone but you. And so he knew that would play on like my insecurities. So one time when he said, you need to go out and find someone, I said, well, what if I do? And he said, well, then we won't be together. So he knew that was going to get to me because I wanted to be with him. I enjoyed our time together when we did have it. And so he used the emotional part, the affection. He would give it to me, withdraw it if I wasn't really complying with what he wanted.
Since all of this has happened, have you had time to really retrospectively consider your relationship with Brodus?
Yes.
I want to talk to you, we'll get back to that. I want to talk to you about that Marco Polo group, okay?
Okay.
Brodus was in an ethical non-monogamy group with 2 other women, right?
Yes.
Were you a part of that group?
I was not.
Were you ever allowed to be involved with that group?
I wasn't.
But you knew about it.
Yes.
Would he have let you contribute?
That was the first time that of any activity that he done that he didn't even invite me to do.
Did he actively keep it from you?
I would say so, because with any other thing he did, even to joining like a bourbon society, like we had memberships to a lot of things together, but that was one thing that he did not invite me to.
I want to talk to you about when Brodus and Tabitha Perry moved to Memphis, okay?
Okay.
Mississippi Boulevard reached out to Brodus, right?
To my knowledge, according to him, the pastor from Mississippi Boulevard reached out to Pastor Pointer, and then Pastor Pointer shared that with Brodus.
Had Brodus, to your knowledge, had any issues at St. Mark's?
Yes, he would tell me a lot about conflict that he was having with some of his coworkers. And then there was one instance where, according to him, he had misuse of a credit card.
Your Honor, this is going to the context of their relationship, just getting background on, this is going to her buying things, paying for things.
On April 4th, 2019, Daniels was in a severe emotional crisis following the breakup. That day, she legally purchased a weapon in Arkansas. She later stated that her mental state at the time was focused on harming herself, not anyone else. Instead of following through with that intent, she drove toward Memphis, hoping to see Perry in person and get clarity or closure after the sudden end of their relationship.
Once I got in my car, because I was trying to hurry up and leave because I didn't want him to come home while I was there, I loaded the in my car, and once whatever was left over, I put everything into my coat pocket that was sitting in the passenger seat.
Now, when you parked downtown, where did you go?
I started walking in the direction in which I knew the lounge was. And once I got on the street, I started walking up the street, and I actually saw Brodus coming out of the lounge, and I walked past him.
Were there any rules in your relationship regarding how to behave when you saw him in public?
Yes, I was not to approach him because I never knew who he may have in his company, so I was not to approach him, but if he acknowledged me, then I could have, talk to him.
Did you come within his sight?
Yes.
Did he acknowledge you?
Yes.
You actually walked right.
I walked past him, and so he said, "So you're just gonna walk past me and not say anything?"
At that point in time, did y'all engage in a conversation?
Yes.
After you talked with Brodus, what did y'all figure out?
Well, we decided that because his thing was I still wasn't wanting to be on board with him and this non-monogamy and have been able to see other women. So we came to I told him Well, we still haven't told Tab. You've always said something about telling Tab, so we haven't told Tabitha. And he said, okay, we'll tell Tabitha. He told me to go to the apartment and just talk to her about tenants until he got there, and that once he was there, we would tell her. He had to go to his boss house to drop off something. And so he gave me a backstory as to what to tell her if she asked me while I was in town, and we left. But before leaving, we came to the resolve that once we told Tabitha about the relationship, we had a trip that was planned to go. We was going to Kentucky. If she said yes, then that would be a new start, a fresh start. But if she said no, then that would be the trip that we would end.
Did Brodus indicate to you that he was going to tell Tabitha while y'all were at the apartment
Yes.
about your relationship?
Yes.
And what would have happened, or would you have been allowed to tell Tabitha without his okay?
I didn't know.
What, would you have been able to continue a relationship with Brodus if you had done that?
No.
So I want to talk to you then about when you left downtown, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go?
I put in the address that he had given me, and so that address did say Collierville. I didn't know how far away it was or anything. I just placed it in the GPS.
Do you remember what time you arrived at the apartment?
I know it was late. I just remember when we were there and we were talking, I remember the news coming on.
Probably around 9 o'clock?
Yes.
So you left Little Rock, Arkansas at approximately 5 o'clock, right? And drove to downtown Memphis, right?
Yes. Yes.
That takes about 2.5 hours?
Yes.
How long would you say that you were talking with Brodus?
We talked for a while because I remember the valet pulling the car up a ways and getting out, and just because he was sitting in there waiting on him and we never did, so he just pulled it up and we continued to talk.
So then you left downtown, it was dark?
Yes.
Drove to Collierville?
Yes.
What did you do when you arrived at the apartment?
I circled around because I couldn't, it was dark and I really couldn't see like numbers or anything. So I circled around, and then I guess eventually I found the building number, and I parked and found my way to their apartment according to the address.
If I may just have one moment, Your Honor. This is part of Exhibit 12. Latasha, is that your car?
Yes.
Is this also a photograph of your vehicle?
Yes.
Which vehicle is yours in that picture?
The silver one?
While you were sitting in your car, did you call Brodus?
I did. And I shared with him that I was a little nervous and could we just go somewhere and talk? And he said, no, we're going, you wanted to talk to Tabitha, we're going to talk to her.
Did he answer every time that you called him?
I didn't call him a lot, but I did that night.
Before you walked inside, was there a time that you called him and he didn't answer?
No.
Okay, not that you recall?
Not that I recall.
After you had talked to him and he said, no, we're gonna do this, what did you do?
I went to the apartment and knocked on the door.
Were you wearing your coat?
Yes.
When did you put on your coat?
When I got out of the car to go to find him at the lounge.
Is that when you were walking around downtown at night by yourself?
Yes.
Did you ever take your coat off after leaving downtown?
No.
When you left downtown, how would you describe your feelings?
I was a little hopeful. I was like, okay, maybe, we can get some resolve. We can get back to normal. And so that's what I was focused on.
And when he insisted on telling Tabitha, did you get even more hope?
Yes.
So what did you do? Did you get out of your car?
Yes, I got out of my car.
Were you still wearing your jacket?
Yes.
Did it register to you that you had a gun in your pocket?
It did not.
Did you go to the apartment?
I did.
What did you do when you got to the door?
I knocked on the door, and I can't remember, but I ended up bending down, and that's when she said, I'm not going to open the door for someone I don't see. And so I knocked again, and that's when she was like, Tasha, is that you?
What do you mean you bent down?
I don't know if, I couldn't remember if it was time or sure or something. I just remember bending down, which is why she didn't see me when I knocked the first time.
You just don't remember?
No, I don't, yeah.
Who answered the door?
Tabitha.
What did she do when she answered the door?
She, once she opened it, she embraced me and said hello and welcomed me in.
Did you go inside?
I did.
Where did you go when you went inside?
She positioned for me toward the couch, and she sat on one end and I sat on the other.
And that would be Your Honor, if I may put this is part of the cumulative exhibit. Is this the couch that you're referring to?
Yes.
And you were seated on this side?
I was.
And Tabitha was seated on this side?
Yes.
Did you talk to Tabitha?
Yes, we talked. We talked about tennis, but right before we kind of got into the tennis talk, she had made a phone call to Brodus.
And what did she say to him?
She told him, she asked how long it was going to be before he got there. And then she told him she had a surprise for him.
When Tabitha let you into the apartment, did she close the door behind you?
Yes.
You and Tabitha were sitting alone in the apartment with a closed door, right?
Yes.
Would anybody outside of the apartment have been able to see in through that door?
No.
How long did you sit talking with Tabitha?
Again, I know the news ended up coming on, so maybe 15 minutes or so.
At any point, did you pull your gun out and threaten Tabitha?
No.
At any point, did you verbally threaten Tabitha?
No.
At any point, were you trying to hurt Tabitha?
Not at all.
Were you happy to be there about to have this conversation with Tabitha?
Yes.
Was Brodus there yet?
No.
Now, I want to talk to you about when Brodus Perry arrived, okay?
Okay.
When he walked in the door, could you see him?
Yes.
Can you describe his demeanor when he saw you?
When he came in, he didn't look surprised or anything, which is what I thought he would do since he knew I was going to be there. But he was just like, I think Tal was like, surprise. And he was like, this not a surprise. I thought you had some keto cookies for me. And from there, he was like, what are you doing here? And then I went with the story again that I was in town for a conference. And we just kind of started engaging in small talk. He came and sat beside me. And then after about a minute or so, it was like, would you like a pour?
What is a pour?
A pour is some bourbon.
Did you accept the pour of bourbon?
I did.
Where was Brodus seated?
He was approximately a foot or two from me.
I'm putting back up from the cumulative exhibit.
That blue chair?
This blue chair right
Yes.
here? And you were seated here?
Yes.
And Tabitha was still seated here?
Yes.
After you accepted the pour of bourbon from him, did he make any comments about you drinking?
He came back and sat down, and as we were talking, he would make references to me drinking and would say, well, I think you're going to have to stay the night. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this is about to get into this conversation. But he never would give me eye contact. But he would continue to make, it's like, we have to clean out the bed in there because it has a lot of clothes on it. And, but I'm still looking at him to get, like, to see where you going with this. But he never did lead into the conversation. He actually started asking me questions like, so where are you staying in Memphis? And I'm like, that wasn't part of what you told me you was gonna say. So I don't know Memphis. He knows I didn't know Memphis. And so I didn't know what to say. I finally said an Airbnb. And then Tabitha was like, where? And I was like, downtown. And then that conversation ended. And he continued to say something about me staying the night, but never going into the conversation of what we were supposed to be talking about.
Had you ever been into that apartment before?
No.
On April the 4th, when you were there, what part of the apartment did you go into?
I walked through the front door, which led into a small little hallway and right into their kitchen area.
And then into the living
And
room?
then into, yes.
Did you go into any bedroom?
No.
Your Honor, this is part of the cumulative exhibit 13. Did you ever go into the guest bedroom?
I did not.
What is all over the bed in the guest bedroom?
Clothes?
Had you seen that?
No.
But those are the clothes Brodus was talking about?
Yes.
When he was talking about clearing off the bed, you sleeping over, did you think that was his jumping off point to talk to Tabitha?
I thought so.
How were you feeling at that point?
Very nervous.
Were you also excited?
I think I was more nervous because I just didn't know which way it was going to go, but hopeful.
At some point, you lost hope.
Yes.
And you said you were going to leave.
Yes.
Why did you decide to leave?
I saw that it wasn't going anywhere. Like I said, he was not giving me eye contact. So I knew, or I felt like he had changed his mind. And I just didn't want to keep sitting there feeling, at that point, stupid.
What happened after you said you were going to leave?
Tabitha got up, he got up, and so she began to tell me about watching for the police, you know, because I had been drinking.
Had you drank a lot?
No, not at all. But she still was just letting me know. And she began to walk toward the door. And I asked him, would he walk me out? He said no. And I said, why not, sir? That's Southern hospitality for you to walk a woman outside when it's dark. Because I wanted to just get him to see like what happened. Why didn't you follow through? But he refused to walk me out. So Tabitha opened the door and was walking out. I was still trying to get him to walk me out. And as I reached into my pockets to get my keys, I remember being outside the door, and then the next thing I was standing in their kitchen.
Do you deny that you shot Brodus Perry?
I do not.
Do you deny that you shot Tabitha?
I don't, but I know it wasn't intentional.
Did you mean to shoot Tabitha?
No, I wasn't trying to hurt anybody.
When you went to that apartment that day, did you intend to use your gun on either Brodus or Tabitha?
No.
When you went there, what was your purpose in going there?
Thinking that I was gonna get some kind of ending to the relationship.
And what do you mean?
Like, okay, of course, after I got to, you know, talking to him at the lounge, we had a plan. It was either gonna be a start or an ending, but it was something that I could see, like I knew it wasn't just a disappearing text but still I love you, you know. So I went to the apartment, I guess for lack of a better word, to get some resolve.
Did you have hope, given that Tabitha was open to the open marriage?
I was nervous about that because, like I said, he had told me she had these rules about not nobody that you know and things like that. So I'm like, she knows me, so I don't know what that was gonna be like. I didn't even think about anything beyond that.
As far as Tabitha goes, this is a person that you became friendly with, right?
Correct.
Daniels went to the apartment. She was allowed inside and spoke calmly with Tabitha Archie while waiting for Perry to return. Daniels later testified that the conversation was ordinary and that she made no threats. When Perry arrived, Daniels believed they would finally have an honest conversation about their relationship. Instead, she said he avoided the subject and emotionally withdrew. Feeling rejected, overwhelmed, and mentally unstable, Daniels decided to leave. In the moments that followed, shots were inside the apartment, resulting in Perry's death and injuries to his wife. Police arrived shortly afterward and took Daniels into custody, describing her as emotionally distressed. Daniels was indicted later in 2019 and remained in custody for more than 6 years as the case moved through the court system. Her trial began in 2025 in Shelby County, Tennessee. Prosecutors argued that her actions were deliberate, pointing to the firearm purchase and the drive across state lines. The defense countered that Daniels was experiencing a severe emotional breakdown and never intended to hurt anyone. On November 7, 2025, the jury returned its verdict. Daniels was found guilty of second-degree murder in the death of Broads Perry and reckless endangerment related to the injury of Tabitha Archie. She was acquitted on the firearm use charge. Under Tennessee law, the conviction carries a potential sentence of 15 to 25 years, with sentencing scheduled for February 19, 2026, following delays related to mental health evaluations. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.